Welcome to Task and Tune, where we break down the world's most complex stories in a way that's easy to follow, whether you're driving, working, or just getting things done. This is an audio-first channel, so feel free to continue with your tasks while we take you on a journey into the rise of China as a global superpower. China's growth is no ordinary story. It's a tale of economic transformation, strategic global influence, and technological innovation. From the farmlands of the 1970s to becoming the world's manufacturing hub, China's ascent is reshaping global trade, technology, and power dynamics. Stay tuned as we explore the key milestones in China's rise, how it has influenced global markets, redefined manufacturing, and the bold Belt and Road Initiative that is linking continents like never before. So, sit back, relax, and let us walk you through one of the greatest economic shifts in modern history, right here on Task and Tune. China's story of growth begins in the late 20th century. For much of the 20th century, China was largely rural and underdeveloped. However, in 1978, the course of China's future changed forever when Deng Xiaoping introduced a series of market reforms, shifting China towards a market-oriented economy. Under Deng's leadership, China embraced economic liberalization, opening up to foreign investments and private enterprise. By allowing market forces to drive development while maintaining tight political control, China laid the groundwork for explosive growth. Special economic zones were set up, encouraging foreign companies to set up factories and tap into China's vast labor pool. And grow it did. Over the next 4 decades, China's economy surged by an astonishing rate, lifting over 850 million people out of poverty and positioning itself as the world's manufacturing hub. Today, when you flip over your smartphone or your laptop, it's likely you'll see the words, "Made in China." In fact, nearly 30% of the world's manufacturing output comes from China. So, how did China become the world's factory? China's rise in manufacturing wasn't just about cheap labor. Its focus on building infrastructure, modernizing ports, and adopting new technologies made it a powerhouse for industries across sectors: electronics, textiles, automotive, and more. China's ability to scale production rapidly, alongside its significant investment in infrastructure, allowed it to dominate global supply chains. From consumer goods to high-end electronics, Chinese manufacturers are deeply embedded in nearly every major global industry. China's ambitions go far beyond its borders. Enter the Belt and Road Initiative, often referred to as the New Silk Road. Launched in 2013, this massive infrastructure and trade project aims to connect China with over 60 countries across Asia, Europe, and Africa through railroads, highways, and maritime routes. By financing and building critical infrastructure in developing nations, China is expanding its influence across the globe. The BRI is much more than an infrastructure project. It's a strategic move to place China at the center of global trade routes, giving it unprecedented geopolitical and economic leverage. But the BRI isn't without controversy. While many nations welcome the investment, others worry about falling into what's called a debt trap, where countries take on Chinese loans they can't repay. Despite the concerns, there's no denying the scale and ambition of the Belt and Road Initiative, and its global impact is only beginning. If you think China's rise is just about manufacturing, think again. China is rapidly becoming a tech superpower. From e-commerce giants like Alibaba to leading AI and 5G innovators like Huawei, China is positioning itself at the forefront of global technological innovation. With heavy investment in areas like artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and space exploration, China isn't just catching up with the West, it's setting its own path to lead in the industries of the future. As China's economic engine roared into the 21st century, Its rise wasn't contained within its borders. What happens in China today has ripple effects across every corner of the globe. But how exactly has China's ascent impacted global markets and international relations? Let's break it down. 1. Shifting global trade dynamics. China's dominance in manufacturing has restructured global trade patterns. It is not just the largest exporter in the world, but also a vital player in global supply chains. When China sneezes, the world catches a cold. One stark example is the U.S. China trade war that began in 2018. The United States imposed heavy tariffs on Chinese goods, attempting to curb China's growing influence. But the tariffs also hurt U.S. companies and consumers, revealing how dependent the world had become on Chinese manufacturing. From electronics to automobiles, disruptions in China ripple through markets globally. Beyond the U.S., China's trade ties with Europe, Africa, and Southeast Asia have created a web of interdependence. Europe is now China's second-largest trading partner, and African nations rely on China for everything from infrastructure projects to manufactured goods. 2. Investment in Africa, a new frontier. Perhaps nowhere is China's growing influence more visible than in Africa. Over the last 2 decades, China has become Africa's largest trading partner, surpassing both the United States and Europe. But it's not just about trade. China is building highways, railways, and ports across the continent as part of its Belt and Road Initiative, investing over $140 billion in African infrastructure. While many African nations welcome these investments as critical for their development, critics point to the risks of falling into a debt trap, taking on loans from China that they may struggle to repay. Countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, and Djibouti have taken on massive loans, and some fear the long-term consequences. But the Chinese government argues that these investments are mutually beneficial, helping Africa industrialize while securing vital resources and new markets for Chinese companies. The question remains: will China's growing economic role in Africa translate into political influence, and at what cost? The Belt and Road Initiative, a global web of influence. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is China's grand strategy to reshape global trade. With over $1 trillion in planned infrastructure projects, China is funding railways, roads, and ports, creating new trade routes that bypass traditional Western-dominated channels. Countries like Greece, with its strategically important port of Piraeus, have become key nodes in China's global trade network. Piraeus is now a major entry point for Chinese goods into Europe, illustrating how China is creating new pathways that boost its influence over global trade. Expert. By investing in infrastructure that spans continents, China isn't just expanding trade, it's establishing long-term geopolitical influence. The more countries rely on Chinese-built infrastructure, the more leverage China gains in international relations. 4. Technology and the battle for global dominance. China's influence isn't just economic, it's technological. Companies like Huawei and Tencent are leading global innovation, especially in the development of 5G networks and AI technologies. This technological leadership has sparked concern in the West, particularly in the United States and Europe. Fears over cybersecurity and intellectual property theft have led many Western nations to block Chinese tech firms from key infrastructure projects. But in many developing nations, Chinese tech is welcomed, as it offers cutting-edge solutions at competitive prices. This technological race is now a key front in the new Cold War between the U.S. and China, where the battle for dominance isn't just about military or economic power, it's about who controls the technologies that will shape the future. 5. The U.S. China Rivalry. A new Cold War. The relationship between the United States and China is complex, and some analysts describe it as a modern-day Cold War. While both countries are economically intertwined, they are also engaged in a fierce competition for global influence. Trade wars, military posturing in the South China Sea, and ideological clashes over democracy and authoritarianism define this tense relationship. As China continues to assert its influence in Asia and beyond, the U.S. has responded by strengthening alliances with countries like Japan, South Korea, and Australia. Meanwhile, Europe is caught in the middle, navigating its economic ties with China while maintaining its security relationship with the U.S. The global balance of power is changing, and China's rise is central to this shift. What does this mean for the future? Will we see new alliances form, and how will nations respond to this emerging superpower? As China's economic and political influence grows, the balance of power is shifting. From trade routes to technology, China is positioning itself as a global superpower in ways that will shape the 21st century. Thank you for joining us on this journey through China's rise. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, and let us know what topic you'd like to explore next. This is Task and Tune, where we simplify the world's most complex subjects. See you in the next episode.